Today, we're talking to Benji Travis, who is a professional vlogger. Benji and his wife, Judy, have a family vlog called It's Judy's Life with 1.8 million subscribers. Benji has a personal blog under his name with 390,000 subscribers. Benji is also half of the Video Influencers team, where they grew that channel to over 650,000 subscribers. And he's the co-author of the book YouTube Secrets, where he and Sean Cannell share how to grow and make money as an influencer. Benji's also the creator of vloggingacademy.com, where he helps creators make a living through vlogging. In other words, Benji knows how to grow YouTube channels. He knows how to do this professionally. He knows the thing. So today we're going to talk with Benji, and we're going to help you learn how to become a professional content creator. And if you're a vlogger, there's some extra goodness in here for you. But most of what we're going to be talking about today applies to most creators. So without further buildup, Benji, welcome back.
What's going on, Nick? Thank you so much for having me. I'm pumped up to be here live because that's the only way to do it. That's the best way to engage with people. I think that's the first thing I tell people is connect with the audience, and you're literally the go of it. I remember those 6-hour broadcasts you used to do in the back in the day. I would watch those broadcasts. So amazing to be here live again on your show.
Yeah, super excited to have you. You know, like you've been on YouTube for a really long time, and you have extensive experience in, different genres of content. I know in your personal blog, you also, had that as like a food channel for a while and things like that, where you're just sharing your love for food. So I'm really grateful for you to come on here and share your expertise and your knowledge with everybody that's going to, be hanging out here today and watching this on the replay. So, I appreciate that. So as we get into this, how long have you been on YouTube? Like what's your story? Like what got you onto YouTube in the first place? If you could just give us a little bit of history, and then we'll get into some, actionable tips for people. But I just want to let them hear from your voice, just the experience and why, they should listen to all the knowledge that you're going to be sharing.
Well, I started in 2008, Nick. So I'll have to fast forward throughout the, what is that? 16 years that I've been on YouTube. I really started just looking at kids watching breakdancing videos. I used to work at a YMCA, like a youth center, and the kids were watching these B-boys, we would call them, dancing all over the country and the world. And as a kid growing up who used to be in the B-boy scene, we used to have to share VHS tapes. I was fascinated that these kids were learning from anybody and literally doing these moves that it took us a year to learn. They were doing them in a week because they had this new video platform called YouTube. Fast forward, my wife starts a YouTube channel, which was still weird at the time, 2008. And I thought, oh, that's kind of weird. Why are you spending your time doing this? And so I always say she gets the last laugh, because eventually not only did she make me into a YouTuber, we became full-time content creators, and now she's my boss. In 2011, we decided to start a vlogging channel, just for fun. It was a behind the scenes of her makeup channel, and I was the one that came up with the idea. I said, hey, this is a secondary channel for whatever you're interested in. It's kind of like throwaway content. Like, you're just doing it for fun. Little did I know that would become, it went from 30 days. It was called Vlogtober. It went from that to the last, I'm trying to do the math here, 13 years of our life, uploading 5 to 7 times a week. And this is the thing, you don't do that unless you have fun and it makes sense financially. And both have been the case since. My wife and I have since got married. We've had 5 beautiful girls. I've traveled the world. And then, as you mentioned, I'm obsessed with YouTube. So I wrote this book, YouTube Secrets, with Sean Cannell, as you know, and have been able to connect with creators like you. I mean, epic people in this industry. And that's really the quick take. But the one thing I would say is I've always been a huge fan of the platform, but never have I been this pumped up for the future. And I know I've said that a few times before, but honestly, especially post-pandemic, looking to the next decade, we've heard about what's going on with other platforms. It's crazy to me that YouTube has stayed king of the hill, and there's really no competitors when it comes to long form content. And I know we're going to jump into it. So I'm just excited. And you would think after all this time, you see all these I quit YouTube or burnout videos. That's why I'm honored and blessed. I still feel pumped up and have fun doing this. And I think it's because sustainability is really important. That's what my wife and I have been able to do. And that's why we still create content to this day.
That's fantastic, and I love that the emphasis that you put on sustainability, because it's like anybody can make a good video, right? And like sometimes you can make a good video and get lucky, but when it comes to long term, I mean, you've been at it for 16 years and been able to maintain the success for 16 years and really dial things up over the last 13. But that sustainability factor is such a big thing, and I think that when people start out as content creators, it's something that they don't really think about. But when it comes to sustainability, let's start there. So when it comes to sustainability, one of the things that I always mention to people is you have to make sure that you're prioritizing the right things, and you have to make sure that you're balancing your time, and you got to make sure that you are generating comfortable income so that you don't have to stress out all the time about where's my next meal going to come from. For you, from all of the time that you've been on the platform as a content creator, what do you recommend for people for sustainability? Like, what are some core aspects of being able to do this for long term? Because if somebody wants to be a professional content creator, they need to start thinking, career wise, right? Like, this is going to be a thing I'm going to be doing for a while. So what are your recommendations for how people can maintain that and be sustainable?
For sure. I think the number one piece of advice I got from a guy named Gary Vaynerchuk isn't even really the most obvious. He talks about hustle, he talks about posting all the time, but really having self-awareness is so important. Being aware of why you're starting YouTube and where you're going to. So, for example, when I first started YouTube, it was just for fun. My wife was doing it. I was the brand manager for all her deals behind the scenes. She was the talent. So when I started my food channel in 2010, Benjamin TV, where I put up my food vlogs and my recipe videos, it was really just for fun. And that's what it was. I didn't have these high expectations. I just put up videos almost as a hobby. And since then, it has changed, but I always knew that. So I didn't feel the pressure to grow, to do the viral videos. I was doing what I wanted. Versus if you're somebody that's an entrepreneur, maybe you're using this platform for marketing your business or services, having that awareness is really important, because when something changes in your life, you have to adjust with it. The number one reason why people burn out is because they don't adjust when it's appropriate. For example, my wife started in the makeup scene, right? And a lot of these creators that started back then, they haven't evolved. My wife, she evolved into being a daily vlogger, family vlogger, and then she started her mommy channel, and then since went back to vlogging and has no FOMO about her beauty channel or in that content. But some of her colleagues wouldn't listen to their heart, their instincts, and what happens? They keep doing the same thing. Their spirit is dying, and then they burn out. Having that self-awareness is so important, and listening. And so I think that at one point, people they start because they want to have fun. It's just fun, whether they're a kid and all their friends are doing it and they want to be this YouTuber, or maybe they just think it'd be fun to connect with other people around this hobby, and then it doesn't become fun. See, that awareness is important for so many aspects of your business, and just listening to that. I know that sounds cheesy, but that's frankly what I learned from my wife, and that's why she's been able to sustain 4,000 plus edits. She does all her own edits. She doesn't have an editor, right? And that's why,
incredible.
yeah, in the last 3 months, I've been pumped up because I wasn't having fun with YouTube anymore, and I stopped my food channel about 4 years ago. And guess what? I started up, but I did it in a fun way, kind of similar to before, but I've been able to upload almost 100 vlogs in 100 days with much less work. But again, I was just listening to my heart. When it wasn't fun anymore, I stopped. And then when I felt inspired, I started again. The second thing I would say, in addition to having awareness and thinking about how to make this sustainable, is yes, how do you make it into a business? In our book, YouTube Secrets, one of the 7 C's is cash flow. Yes, thank you. I promise I'll stop talking about YouTube.
Yes, on standby. I'm ready for the mentions. Yeah.
I know you've been amazing about promoting it, but the reason we're so proud of it is because the 7 C's are the core essential principles that you can follow no matter what time it is. And one of them is cash. Do not be hesitant on thinking about it on day one, because you have to pay the bills. You want to buy a house. You want to raise a family. You want to do things in the years to come. So if you're not thinking about that, and I know for people that aren't business minded or entrepreneurs themselves, it might be difficult, but just expect it's going to be part of the content creation process. Again, the awareness. If you're aware that that's not you, you're going to have to connect with a manager. You're going to have to connect with people that can help you. Maybe get some business coaching, creating systems. If you're somebody that is an entrepreneur and have that awareness, I don't even have to tell you. But from day one, you have to think about it. So I'll just give you an example. Say you're a young person and you don't need any money, right? And you're like, oh, I'm living with my parents. I don't really need the money. Great. That's fine that you don't need that income right now. But you should start thinking about what are the ways I can start making money passively so that when you do get older, right, you're building something that could move you from out of the house to your own house and create these systems for constant cash flow. Say you're somebody that needs to pay the bills. See, the reason I think it's important to think about ways to make money on YouTube or with YouTube when you have a full-time income is because the reason you're probably starting a YouTube channel is because you don't want to do this profession anymore. You don't want to work in the business. You don't want to work at the job. So you start thinking about this. One little big tip I would give, I know we'll get into this a little bit later, but you as a content creator already have so much value. You can start making money from day one just with the skills that you have. So for me, it's always been that balance. And this is why my wife and I are a great team. Having that self-awareness, she's always been really instinctive, knowing when she has to change and adjust. And two, always thinking about the cash flow. And then when things adjust, guess what? You have to adjust with it. The content creation game is different than most business ventures. It's not this machine. It's not just a system. It's not a strategy or a business plan. It's something creative. And as you know, there's a big part to YouTube that's a little artsy fartsy. And so you have to always listen to that. And that's why I think those two are good examples of, why we've been able to have that balance, because making money also lets you have those breaks. Now, I know this sounds weird coming from someone that's literally worked 5 to 7 days a week. We love what we do, but we have lots of micro breaks, and we've never been desperate for the money too, because we've created income. So we don't make decisions that are bad for ourselves as people, for our business and our brand. So I think this is one of the reasons why too. And of course, as time goes on, diversifying that income so you're not solely relying on just one source.
Fantastic. Love it. So one thing I want to talk about, just because I think it's an outstanding feat that you guys do when it comes to your publishing schedules. So on the It's Judy's Life channel, she publishes daily content forever. On your channel, your vlog channel, you've been publishing daily content for the last 100 days straight. Yeah. And you're doing all of this while also, managing your family, maintaining your relationship with each other, having a social life, all of those things. What are your recommendations for people that are trying to just stay consistent? Because, life gets in the way, things always come up, there's always stuff to do. What are your recommendations for people that are like, man, I would love to just be able to hit a stride and at least publish, bi-weekly or weekly or, something like that? Because I want to take what it is that you're doing on a daily perspective and see how that can apply to people, that are just trying to publish, once or twice a week or daily.
Yeah,
daily. Like,
sure.
how do you do it daily?
I'm going to give 2 pieces of advice that's helped us. Of course, when you think about vlogging, it's more casual content, but there's vlogs that are high production, whatever. The number one thing that's helped my wife and I sustain this type of volume, including what I've done in the last 100 days, is keeping it simple. This pertains to both the beginner and the expert. When you overcomplicate things, you create friction, or you create excuses or reasons why you can't do it. That's not good for content creation. So since the beginning, we've always kept it very simple. We've always thought, how do we create content in a way where there aren't too many people involved? I know it's tempting to get an editor or get a production team. One of the nightmares for brands is they have a lot of, like hoops to go through. They have to talk to a lot of people. As I say, a lot of chefs in the kitchen. for beginners, you should be the only chef. That means that even if you have to just grab your phone, which I totally recommend for almost everybody getting started, and just making a video yourself, that is the best way to start, just because it's the most simple way to start. And as time goes on, you're going to learn how to create content so that when you do get an editor, it's going to be easier for you to tell them what to do, edit the videos, and basically direct and produce your content. But keeping it simple is very, very important. Don't worry about cameras. Don't worry about production. For my wife and I, she literally takes my content and her content, edits it, and uploads it. I know it doesn't sound complex, right? And it's like, how'd she get 1 billion video views? It's because literally she didn't have a lot of friction points. She wasn't working with other people. Now, the question is, well, I don't want to edit videos for the rest of my life. See, the one thing about Judy, that's all she does. She doesn't take care of the business. See, we've hired all the other elements that she doesn't want to be part of. So this, again, going back to self-awareness. But I think one of the mistakes people make, and this is more for the seasoned creator, they offload the creative. Now, if you're not a creative person, you might have to do that. But the thing about YouTube is it's all about the videos. It's all about the content. It's all about whatever it is people want to watch. So that's the piece that personally I don't offload, or I don't recommend people offload. Of course, there's certain type of channels, but again, keeping it simple. So even when you do hire people, I don't recommend hiring a team of people. Slowly hire people, right? Instead of hiring an editor or like a producer or like some crazy consultant, just hire an assistant to save you some time, like, because you understand that content creation process. I think that's going to be the most important thing when it comes to how to create content. That's been our process. The second thing, though, eventually you want to get an editor, okay? And so when you're working with an editor, you also want to make their job really easy. So the way I've been able to do 100 food vlogs, this is in addition to my family vlogs with my wife, is I've kept the content creation process not only easy for me to wrap my head around, but easy for my editor. So with vlogs, the beauty is you kind of want to tape them all at once. It's not like tape the intro one day and then do the bulk of video later, and then I'm grabbing this outro, or I'm doing the outro another time, or I'm batch producing. I do it all in one day, so I'm super focused. I give them the beginning, middle, and end, and I'm vlogging in a way where I can drop it into the timeline, and it's easy for me to edit, hence easy for my editor to edit. The nightmare for any editor is to literally get a Dropbox file and have 3 hours of content to do a 3-minute video. How are they supposed to know what you did, especially if you're working remotely? In fact, my editor, Chris, he works in Las Vegas. He works remotely. It'd be impossible. In fact, he's here right now in Washington, and we're working together. Things are a little bit faster, right? But I create content the way I'm going to edit. Now, this is something for someone that's got a little bit of experience. This is why it's important to be a content creator at the beginning.
Really quick, Benji, when you say that, do you mean when you're going through the recording process, you're recording with the edit in mind? Is that what you mean?
Exactly.
Okay.
I'm thinking, okay, I should do the intro first. I mean, it sounds obvious, but it's funny how some people don't do the intro first, right? And so for mine, my vlogs are just like me walking into store, starting a recipe or whatever I'm doing that day. But I'm recording in a way that when it saves on the SD card and it goes onto my computer and I drop it into the Dropbox file, then you can download it as an editor, put it into your program, drop it into the timeline. It's already all edited for the most part. I'm even starting and stopping the recording to where I think it should be edited. So,
nice.
so that's the recording part. There's a lot of preparation that goes into recording as well, I think. And so, of course, I've been doing this for so long, I can literally think and prepare for like 5 or 10 minutes. If you have to prepare for an hour the day before, do it. Because if it's just a hodgepodge and that's a mess, and I've been there. When I was first starting out, I was like mumbling and bumbling. I couldn't hit my lines. Even if I had a script, I'm like, it just sounds robotic. yes, it takes practice. Hence why it's important to keep it simple in the beginning so that you can create content and create a lot of content so that you get seasoned and get the experience so that when you do get an editor, you can create a lot more content a lot faster, but you make it easy for that person to edit. And this goes for any editor. I know the editors listening.
And you know what you should charge, and you know what you should pay, because you get familiar with like, okay, how long is this actually going to take? What is it that I'm actually needing this person to do? And it can also make it to where you can more clearly communicate exactly what it is that you want when you're giving feedback on the edits that you've received as well. So I think, you know, when you learn how to do the things that you're going to be hiring out, I think it gives you a severe advantage. Because I know people personally that edit videos for people that shouldn't be charging some of the things that they're charging for it, but their clients, they don't know any better. So because of that, you know, they're charging way too much money, you know, for the job based on, you know, what it should actually, what it should actually cost.
It's a really good point, Nick, because let's just take remodeling a home as an example. I have a friend that he's been flipping homes and he's been doing his own work. And I used to say to him, like, oh, you're wasting your time. You should like hire a professional contractor. You know, like I'm thinking the opposite of what I'm saying on YouTube. And it's like, you should just like let other people do the work because what you're doing at your job is so valuable. And what's interesting is, no, it's like, no, I want to do DIY. I'm watching YouTube videos. I'm doing it myself. He got so good at it that now when he does hire contractors, he knows when they're BSing him, right? He knows when the quote is just astronomical and they're just trying to take advantage of him. YouTube is the same way. And the reason this point is so good for people to listen to is because one of the friction points is cost. So when you go to work with an editor and it should only cost $150 for this video, but they're going to charge you $1,500. Well, guess what? That's a lot of friction because now you're thinking, oh, I need to pay this much for this video versus you've done it already. You know about how long it takes. You might be better than that person, and actually that's a good thing, but still, like, you're like, hey, that is an inflated quote, and you won't even give them the time that you're like moving on to the next versus getting taken advantage of. It's draining your account. Maybe you're not even making that much money, but you're trying to be smart and scale up. So there's this balance. I think that's one thing we've lost in our society because we want to scale up. We want to work smarter. And by the way, those are both things I've always advocated for. But it's funny now that I'm older and I'm seeing people that are trying to do that from the get-go and the mistakes they're making, the friction that's causing, how important that first season is. And this is why for me, my motto is reps. How many videos can you do? I don't care if it's shorts. I don't care if it's vlogs. I don't care if it's talking heads. The more you can do yourself, even with an editor, but like the more you do in the beginning, the easier and more successful you're going to be in the future.
Love that. I'm like fired up from listening to you say that. I'm like, yeah, as soon as this is over, I'm gonna make some extra videos. So Benji, man, one question that I often get in my live streams that I do on Saturdays is I have people that come in that are vloggers that, you know, do similar things to where, you know, they have a camera with them and they're basically recording the events that, you know, unfold, you know, throughout their day. And then they cut them down into videos and then they publish them. One of the questions that I commonly get from people that are doing that style of content is they don't know how to prepare. Basically, like they don't know how to think of like, okay, you know, what could I possibly make a video about? Because they are kind of looking at their day in reverse instead of planning their day ahead. What do you recommend to people that have, you know, those types of channels that are like, hey, I don't really know how to really plan out the videos that I'm going to make because I don't know what's going to happen. What's your advice to people in that scenario?
And I'm sure a lot of them struggle because they're not getting views. See, the old way of vlogging, the way my wife started is she had an audience of makeup lovers. They watch her beauty videos, right? Hairdos, makeup looks, or whatever. So they already were signed up for whatever she was doing. That secondary channel, I thought it was going to be a throwaway channel. No, it started getting views right away when we started that 30 days of vlogging. That was every single vlogger, okay? Whether it's Logan Paul or Casey Neistat or the hundreds of vloggers, they had an established audience. So it set the tone for what a vlog should be, what a vlogger is, which is you're vlogging your whole day. That's the old way. See, it's impossible to get somebody to care about what toothpaste toothbrush you're using and toothpaste, and then the type of coffee you're making, and then you're walking the store thinking about a random thought. But they're doing this because that's what they saw all the other vloggers that are famous and making money and flying around the world doing, right? And so, you know, where things change really is travel vloggers. See, travel vloggers, what I like about travel is it's a focused theme. There's something that they're doing. And on the other end of it, they didn't even probably think about this, but on the other end of it, there was viewers that cared about travel. So rather than being reverse thinking, right? Yes, you're going to prepare, but even before that, think about what is your vlog channel going to be about? Okay, not about your random day. See, if everybody did that, we just have like random content all over. And guess what? YouTube probably has to buy a whole new server farms just to like service all these vlogs going on, right? Like these day in the life of me. You don't know me, but guess what? You're going to care about every little thing I do. That is the old way. The new way is have a focus. Nick, you teach this all the time, just generally. You know, it's interesting in the beginning, you're like, hey, you know, we want to make sure we talk about your vlogging experience. We talk about how to vlog, but, you know, keeping it general so that everybody can benefit. Everyone should listen to the things you say, even with vlogs. Having a focus, I think, is what's important. So what I'm trying to say is this. Before you even start recording, know what your channel is going to be about and who it's for. And then have a theme, okay? Like literally have a theme. For my vlog channel, my food vlog, it's my love of food. So the people that are going to watch it are people that also love food. That clarity already cuts out about 80% of my day, because I can promise you, even though I love food, I'm not eating for like 8-10 hours, right? So what I do is at the beginning of the day, I'm like, okay, I love food. I know my viewers love food. So what is one of my meals that I could document? Or where I'm going to Costco today, right? And that's like one of my more popular videos. And all I do is I show people the ingredients I'm buying for my recipes. I show like some new products or whatever. Again, I have a compass to follow, and I'm not going to be tempted by doing like an Apple Vision Pro review, right? Because I can afford it and I could get it. Or, you know, or even like, for example, business class on the airplane. Right now, I sound pretentious because I'm talking about these really expensive things. I'm just using these as example.
As examples.
Yeah. So if I go on a plane, a lot of people do the business class review or whatever. Well, I'm not just doing a general review of it on my food vlog. I'm literally just vlogging the food I eat. By the way, I'm going to go on a flight across the states. I'm going to fly domestic. I was going to literally just document what food I ate, and that would be my food vlog. So you can do this for any niche. For example, real estate agents. No, I'll tell you this, nobody wants to see a normal life of a real estate agent, except maybe real estate agents, but even them, they're too busy to see your whole day. What I would do is like, what are a couple things I'm doing today that I could document that'd be interesting for the people who want to read? So say you're a real estate agent that wants more real estate agents. I'm literally thinking like, when I was a young real estate agent or starting off in business, what were like 2 or 3 of the things? See, you have a theme and you have a focus. Do not document your whole day. The only people really allowed to do that is somebody that's already proven to an audience that the rest of my day is worth it. Now, this is what's interesting. I was thinking about you, Nick, today and yesterday. Actually, I think about you more often. I'm not creeping or anything. You just always pop up on my channel. If you documented your process of creating content, literally like, hey, you guys, so I'm sitting here in front of my computer. I also got a piece of paper, old school. I got a pen, I'm looking at all these other channels. I'm getting some ideas. This is kind of what I do to think about what I like and what I'm going to produce next, right? And then you go to the actual content creation process. You're like, hey guys, and you got your phone. You're not using anything fancy. It's like, say I got my camera set up. You already know my studio. But today I thought I'm going to test out this new like sound thing or whatever. Your viewers would love that. And the thing is, you could actually vlog your whole
I might try that actually. Yeah, this is good. I'm loving it.
Your viewers watch your whole day, but guess what? People that don't know you that are into video production or want to also produce YouTube videos would especially love that type of vlog. See, even these seasoned creators that are allowed to document their whole day, I'm telling them, you should actually still stay focused. Because a lot of content creators, and let's talk about short form creators, they want to get into long form, but they don't know how to. And honestly, they think that they have to do these long vlogs or longer videos. The easiest thing to do is just do an extension of your short. And so that is still what I'm talking about, a focused piece of content. I don't know if I answer your question, but I'm telling you, 90% of people that start, those people that come onto your show and ask about vlogs, I don't know what to edit because I have all this content. Remember what I said at the beginning? Rather than having 3 hours of content of your whole day, you'll only have 30 around the theme of your channel and something really specific that you're focused on, and editing will be way easier. You won't have a question about what you're going to do because you already knew what you're going to do. And guess what? When you're documented, a lot more clarity. And again, goes back to what I said. Then you just drop it into the timeline, you just make a few cuts, and then you're off to the races.
And one thing that I think is also a highlight that I want to just kind of focus on for a second is you mentioned earlier when you were explaining that you mentioned about expecting people to care. And one of the things that I think is really important for people that are starting vlogs to think about is, or just if you're starting a YouTube channel or you have a YouTube channel to think about, is you need some type of bait to pull people in to introduce them to you. So if you are just like, hey, I went to the mall, and that's like like what it looks like from the outside, but there's nothing like really interesting happening in the thumbnail. It's just like you standing in front of a mall. There's no real incentive for somebody to necessarily click on that, especially if you don't have anybody that knows you yet or something like that, because you're just getting started. So because of that, it's important to think about, okay, what can I make that I can actually package up? And by package up, I mean topic, title, and thumbnail, but that I can package up in a way to where it would make it interesting to somebody that doesn't know me yet. And then the reason that I'm doing that and I'm kind of designing things around their interests is because I need to use that as my worms, so to speak, that I have on my hook in order to grab people's attention and pull them in so that they can actually introduce me or get introduced to me. And then after that, they can become a regular viewer or whatever. I love that side of things in terms of, if nobody cares, then you got to do something to make them not make them care, but to be able to connect with them in some way. Well, but what would you say are, from your perspective and your experience, what would you say are some of the core elements of a successful vlogging channel, or really any type of channel on YouTube? What would you say are some of the core elements? And really quick, before you answer that question, just as a quick reminder to everyone, Benji has, in addition to all the other things that we're talking about today, he also has the Vlogging Academy. If you go to vloggingacademy.com, I've got a link to it down in the description. But if you go to vloggingacademy.com, he actually helps content creators go through this process as well. So if that's something that you're interested in, he has like some free videos in there and things like that where you can go over and check those out. But if you go to vloggingacademy.com, then you can get a lot more detailed information. But go ahead, Benji.
Well, to answer that question, I actually want to just piggyback on what you just said, because let's just clarify, Nick. Do you want to watch interesting videos or boring videos when you go to YouTube?
Interesting, all day long.
Interesting. And guess what? Everybody else that's listening to this, that's on the platform, would say the exact same thing. So when people have this entitlement, like I should get views because I'm uploading the videos, huge mistake. When you have an expectation of what's going to happen because you think this is interesting, huge mistake. One of the biggest benefits that I've gotten from my mindset is I don't feel entitled to views, even with our millions of subscribers, and I don't expect views if the video is boring. So when you have that mindset, like I'll give you an example. My food channel was basically dead in the water. No evergreen views. I had some like hits that were still getting views, but not really anything massive. So when I first started in December 2nd of last year, 2023, I was kind of scared. That first vlog, that first food vlog, I was like, no one's going to want to watch this. And this is hundreds of thousands of subscribers, right? I honestly thought, you know what? There might only be like a few hundred, and I'm going to have to eat that. And I'm going to have to build back from there. So that fear that I had, that concern, that's what like new creators have. That's new
Yeah.
YouTubers. But it actually helped me. Was like, okay, if that's what's gonna be before that, even before me uploading, I was having that fear. Beforehand, I also had that fear and that thought, and I was like, I better make a good video. Now, this was funny. It was actually a simple video. I kind of did it on the fly. It was me grocery shopping at a Japanese grocery store. My viewers of our normal vlog channel, they've seen me, but I've never done something in depth. But I also was kind of different on my food channel because I always did recipe videos. I did cooking tutorials. I thought, man, no one's going to want to watch this. And then initially I got like 4,000 views, which is not a lot for like a channel with 300,000 subscribers. But I knew like, okay, some people are interested, right? But then when I went to go to the next upload, I was like, oh, but what if this is like 300 because they really didn't like that? Maybe they just watched it, right? These conversations are going on in my head. This is after being a content creator for 16 years. I still have that. I'm telling you this because it's actually a benefit to creators thinking like this. I don't know if you're like this, Nick, but for the reason I'm telling you is I never feel entitled and I don't expect anything. So I hustle and I work hard. So what I said about my vlogs, you said like, well, what are the elements that make it work? I make sure it's interesting, number one, right? But I have a theme for my channel and I've got a focus for my vlog, and I create a piece of content that I believe someone would want to view, but I don't have like an expectation. And then when I start getting views, and this is why reps really matter, and this is why I went daily, because I knew that I hadn't uploaded in a long time. Maybe people forgot about it. You know, there's like dormant subscribers and some people unsubscribe. I was literally getting negative subscribers for a while. So I thought, you know what? I have to make sure to show up. I have to make sure that whatever I upload is going to be of value and it's worth their time. I'm not going to be entitled to views or expect views just because I got subscribers. It's like starting over. In fact, I kind of feel that way every time I upload. And because of that, my views went from 4,000 to 40,000. And of course, I had plenty of other videos do a lot more. But that type of mindset, I think, is even more powerful than tactical stuff. Because so many people try the tactical stuff and maybe they make a mistake, or they're uploading, you know, every single week for a whole year and they're not getting something. And they think, oh, I should get it. And then they get frustrated and then they quit. If you always feel that way, like I have to show up and I have to bring value, then you're always thinking, how do I improve? One of my favorite YouTube experts, in addition to you, of course, Nick, is Roberto Blake. And he's famous for saying,
Roberto's great.
Make 100 crappy videos. But he's since improved that, no pun intended, with the disclosure of make 100 videos, but improve a little from video to video. People put so much weight on that first upload over the first 5 uploads. When I started my channel, I had a goal. I was like, I'm going to do 30 videos in 30 days on top of the other vlogs I do with my wife 5 times a week. I was like, that's what it's going to take for me to get back in the game. I know I'm ranting here, and I'm sorry. I'm going to let.
This is great.
Question.
Yeah, this is fantastic.
I'm a second degree black belt in Taekwondo. I love sparring. I love going to tournaments. I love fighting. I haven't trained a lot. So guess what? I haven't trained in a decade. And if I was going to go back into tournaments, do you think I'm going to go to a tournament first, or I'm going to go back in the ring and spar a few of my buddies, maybe do some drills? Which one do you think I'll do?
Definitely, you're going to hit the gym. You're going to get yourself in the physical condition in order to do the thing. You're going to be sparring people. You're going to be eating a little bit differently. You're going to be going through the entire routine in order to ensure that when you go into the actual tournament that you can compete.
A little more prepared, right? I have experience. But guess what? That's the same thing beginners do. And this was so crazy. A lot of the advice I'm trying to give to people is relevant for both the beginner and the seasoned creator. You got to always maintain, right? But especially if you're a beginner, why do you expect to go to the tournament and be a champion right away, right? Like you don't become a black belt in 1 year. You don't go to the national tournaments in the second year. It sometimes takes years to do it. YouTube is the same way. I actually don't think it would take years to be successful, but you should have the same mindset of like, okay, I'm going to have to do the drills first. So I'm going to have to learn to use a camera. I'm going to have to learn how to edit. I'm going to have to maybe talk to other content creators. Mr. Beast, he had his little core group of buddies. You know, when he was getting no views for 100 videos, they would always like talk shop. He would mastermind even when they weren't really masterminding anything, right? They were just like, I need to get a little bit better. You have to do.
And they were learning from each other. Like the perspective there is like, okay, if I'm just doing this myself and I'm only getting the data from my channel and I'm only, you know, getting the information that I'm getting from what I'm publishing, then I'm limiting how fast I can learn. But if I've got 10 people around me, then I'm 10xing how fast that I can learn, because now we can all kind of share what it is that we're learning. We can share the experiences that we're having for things that are working, things that are not, and all of that. And it just creates a better environment. Plus, you have accountability partners that ensure that you keep doing the thing. You have people to bounce ideas off of and those sorts of things. So masterminds for that sort of thing is fantastic.
Yeah. And so really it's the mindset that you want to improve. It's a mindset that you're going to go the distance. I know one of the questions you're probably going to ask me is like, well, how long do you do this before you quit? Right. I have a no quit type of mentality. And guess what?
Love it.
Everyone I know that's successful also has that. It's not a timeline. You can give yourself like timelines and make milestones and goals, right? And have dreams. But sometimes your dream is just so bold, it's going to take a decade. Maybe, you know, what you want to do only takes 12 months. But having that no quit attitude, and you're not entitled, and you want to work hard, and you're going to hustle for the views, and you are going to do whatever it takes. It's just interesting because we've almost discounted it because we're like, oh, that's just like a motivational video. He's just he's just getting you hyped up. You need to be hyped up every single day, right? Like, because guess what? When you're not getting views, it's not easy, right? Like me, as a season comes, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like, but guess what? I had the mentality, like, you know what? I'm gonna show up. I used to be a black belt, and guess what? I'm gonna be a black belt again. But I'll humble myself to go do the drills again, go into the ring with my buddies and spar, and then go to the tournament one day. Guess what? You end up going to the tournament a lot earlier. But guess what? If I started from zero and nobody knew me, right? Like I had the moment like Peter Parker in the last Spider-Man movie where Doctor Strange does the things like nobody's gonna know you, right? You're gonna have all your memories and all your experience, but you're gonna have no subscribers like there was a YouTube version of the Wizard. You know what's funny? There'd be like some freedom in that, number one, right? But two, I would approach YouTube the exact same way. I would do nothing different. And the people that do that, this is piggybacking on the very first question you asked about sustainability. If you do that, you can do this for a decade. You can do this for 20 years. And it doesn't matter even if the platforms change. You'll be able to literally do anything if you show up like you were a beginner. And that's what's interesting. You know what? Last story about Taekwondo and being a black belt. When I became a black belt, I was training with all the other black belts. I remember what my master said to me at one of the tournament practices. He says, when the instructor asks you to do a drill or be an example or whatever, you better raise your hand right away. The way you raise your hand when you were a beginner and you wanted to learn. You have to always be willing to learn. And the reason I'm telling you this, both as a beginner, but especially the seasoned creators, because kids right now want to be content creators. You know how many 10-year-olds are reading this book right now? You know how many kids are watching Nick's amazing videos? If you just like relax, guess what? They're going to catch up. Both Nick and I have had those moments, right? Like, oh, dang, there's this like new channel on the scene. What's he? 1 million views? What's going on here?
Right. Absolutely.
So this is not an easy game. It's never going to be easy game. It gets easier the more reps you do. But that mindset, if you can inherit that and instill that into your day every single day, I promise you, not only is your content creation going to be a lot easier and you're going to be more motivated, but you're going to have success and life is going to be easier for you.
Love that advice. So when it comes to being a full-time content creator, let's talk about the elephant in the room also, which is money. So for people that are vloggers, because I talk about all the time on my channel about a bunch of different ways that content creators can make money just in general, which applies to most types of content. But when it comes to vlogging specifically, like let's say somebody has a family vlog or they have a personal vlog, in that particular situation, what are the ways that you guys make money? What do you recommend vloggers start with, or just content creators in general? What do you recommend that people start with, and how do you think that people should think about, like, as I'm going through this journey, these are things that I need to start getting in place so that I can make sure that I can fully capitalize on this opportunity that is, through the effort that you're putting out, that opportunity that's essentially laying down in front of you.
So I'm just going to tell you 4 ways a beginner should think about creating income for themselves if they're a vlogger specifically, but frankly, any creator can do this. If you're starting out from zero, especially if you have got a day job or you've got bills to pay or you've got a family, right? Remember, this is why reps are really important. Getting very good at creating content and uploading to YouTube. The number one thing you can do is make videos for other people. If you're good at that, but you're not getting a lot of views, but you're great at creating content, you understand YouTube, guess what? The rest of the world also needs that too. So you're talking entrepreneurs, real estate agents, business people, restaurants need it, hotels need it. Like, every business needs it. So start door knocking. Literally, like, put yourself out there. If you've got a network right now on Facebook or whatever social media, say, hey, you guys, I'm a content creator. I've got a YouTube channel, but I'm looking to create content for other people. I promise you're going to get a DM if they look at your videos on your channel. It's like, oh, this guy knows what he's doing. Even if you're not getting a lot of views, because guess what? 99% of the world also isn't getting views because they have no videos. They need the videos. Video production is so valuable right now. It's not even funny. And specifically video production for YouTube. I think, Nick, you and I probably can relate to this, how lucky we feel landing on YouTube as a place we're an expert at, because almost all the other platforms have the ultimate FOMO on this platform, right? So if you're a content creator that can create videos for YouTube, that's the number one way to make money right now for other people. Second way is for you to start gaining AdSense. Now, I know you're not going to make a lot in the very beginning, but just thinking about AdSense in a different way, not as a way that's going to make you full time right now, but realizing like, hey, AdSense could be a source of income as my views grow. Okay. And so this is why it's important to have a theme and a focus, because if you know what you're doing for an audience, what's going to happen over time, you're going to have certain hits. I'll just be real transparent right now. One of my big hits is Costco. Okay. For me personally, everyone's going to have these hits, but for me, food, Costco is a hit. When I do a Costco video where I go, like, literally, like, we have so many kids, we need the 4-pack of half-gallon organic milk. So I go to Costco, and it used to just be a short trip, but for whatever those tours, so they hit. You're going to have that. AdSense is literally the secret of YouTube for a lot of content creators. Might not be a huge source of income, but it's going to come over time. Just start making videos that people want to watch. And by the way, one of the secrets of vlogging, the new way, is having longer videos, more ads. It can be very lucrative. The third way I'd be making money, and maybe even before the AdSense, is brand deals. See, again, having a theme and having a focus, you're going to start building a brand around something that people care about. And just like brands wanted you to create content for them, right? Like business and want you to create content, there's going to be brands that want to put their products and services in your content because you have an audience that's very specific, a community around a hobby. There you go, a passion or whatever, and they want you to promote it. Now, you might not be doing 5 figures, 6 figures, or 7-figure $1 million deals, but dude, $100, $200. For me, when people say, well, how much should I charge in the beginning? There's 2 answers I give. Number one, what's the cost of producing that content itself? That is the baseline that you should charge. Okay. And these days, I mean, you and I were talking about like overcharging. It could be worth $1,000. The video you're creating, especially in a valuable niche like finances, or maybe it's a brand that it's hard for them to get attention because they're so boring and they could never start a YouTube channel, it might be worth $1,000. But the second answer is, what do you need? I have nothing against a person that needs $50. Nick,
Right.
you and I probably been places in our life where we were hungry, literally hungry. When I first moved out of my house into my little apartment, I couldn't even afford furniture. In fact, when I moved out of that apartment to my own house, I still didn't have furniture. It was all hand-me-downs, garage sale stuff. In that season, if I had to charge $100 for a brand deal, even if I was getting good amount of views because I didn't know better, nothing wrong with that. But guess
Right.
what? This is what I would tell that person. Charge a little bit more next time. Charge a little bit more, right? Do whatever it takes. It's like that no quit mentality. So that's the third way I would be creating income as a thing. And remember, these don't all have to happen one after each other. It's whatever fits well. Okay. And the fourth way to make money, especially if you have a theme that's focused, right? And you've got a community that's very specific, is digital courses. There's just no better way to create income that's faster, that you don't have to manage, than digital courses. So a great example is, say you start a gardening vlog and you start teaching people how to make the best tomatoes. I'm saying that because I love gardening for my food, for my recipes. So I'm not kidding you. I get 20-foot tomato plants right now. Okay. 20-foot. If I wanted to turn into a vlogging channel for gardening and people saw my 20-foot tomato things, don't you think there's going to be a beginner tomato gardener that's like, I want 10-foot at least, right?
Sure.
Would be
Yeah.
I could sell probably a $100, PDF downloadable tutorial on everything you need to know about tomato, because people love to save time. People want the shortcut. Now, this goes against my philosophy, like, you've got to put in the reps, you got to hustle, there is no shortcuts. But, that's a good example of something you can offer because your audience is very specific. Those are the 4 methods I would say. And again, starting from day one, you're starting to implement it. But my one advice about creating income, though, is before any of that gets presented, always show up with value first. Always serve the viewer before you ever think about that. Because if you do that enough times, there's this like reciprocal like thing that happens where they're like, man, Nick's helped me so much. I don't even need this, download or this course, but I'm just going to buy it because he's done so much for me. I know that I personally have that much gratitude towards you, Nick, that I would do whatever. Like, if you're like, Benji, I need a huge favor because you've helped me so much. And I'm not another fellow creator. So imagine somebody that's just watching, they don't know you. When you have that offer, you'd be surprised if you show up with the value first over and over and over, just like you do a lot for a friend. People want to return the favor.
Yeah, and also, like when you front load it with value and people, see that and they're like, wow, they're like really putting that out there, then that also, kind of helps attract people to you as well, because they're like, hey, man, they're just putting out tons of value. And in addition to finding this content like, helpful or like entertaining, I'm also finding it like helpful. Maybe I'm learning some things, while I'm watching these videos and that sort of thing too. So yeah, focusing on the value is a huge part of it. So another question that I have for you really quick, Benji, is because we talked about making good videos. And I know for vloggers, of course, you have the core thing of, having a theme of some kind for the vlogs that you're putting together. But when you're actually editing a vlog together, how do you determine like, okay, this is, okay, so let's say if we look at the family vlog side, because on the food side, it's like, okay, I'm just going to focus on the food and make sure that I'm doing that. On the family vlog side, how do you determine like, yeah, they're going to love this part and they're not going to like this, so let's not have that in there, and man, we got to make sure we get this on video because they're going to absolutely love this part of it. Like how do you determine the things that you think the viewers are going to enjoy? Is that something that you anticipate or something that you just learned over time through, the repetitions of making tons of videos?
I'm guessing Picasso didn't paint the Picasso that is $1 million on day one. He probably started with like finger paint or something else. Like, I'm curious like what it was like. But guess what happened after he painted so many paintings? Maybe he had like 10 like presented. I don't know if Picasso ever did like, like a street stand where he was like selling paintings. He's gonna notice that people love this style more than other ones, or they like offered more money for this one. Same thing happens as a content creator. This is why I love vlogging right now, because vlogging is a lower like bar, right? It's a little bit easier than if the more highly produced stuff that takes a lot of time to edit. But what you're gonna find, and this is why reps are important. If you can do daily like me, great. But even if it's just like once or twice a week, after 2 or 3 months, you're gonna find out there's certain videos that hit a little bit better, right? As long as you have a theme and you have a focus and you're starting to get some views, that's how you're gonna start understanding. And guess what you're gonna do? You're gonna go into the videos. This is where I'm gonna get analytical. I'm not an analytics guy, but it's smart to go into the YouTube studio and look at these numbers. The audience retention. Look where there's little blips in the audience retention, then go to them like, oh, I wonder what was there that they loved. You look at that, it's like, oh, that's where I was like saying this one thing, or I was doing this one thing. See, if I told you exactly what to do right now, when you go to edit, you're gonna like, oh, I gotta pick the. You're gonna get stressed out. You're gonna put too much pressure, and what ends up happening, you don't put up the video. Now, I'm saying this to the beginners. Okay, these are the people I'm like, I want you to just put out the video. I want you to get in the act of putting in the reps from beginning to end, finding out what the idea is, the focus of the video, doing the research on YouTube, recording the video, editing the video, and then uploading. And over time, you're going to improve that process. But when it comes to editing, it's an instinct that starts building over time. It's not something really I can even teach you. And I'm honest about this, Nick, because there's so many niches out there. So for me, the one thing I would suggest, and I know a lot of people don't do this, but a lot of people are going to relate to this. You have to watch your video over again. Watch your video after you edit. You know how many people don't watch their video? They just edit the whole thing and they get to the end of the timeline. Like, oh, that feels
like, ooh, done. Upload this puppy. Yeah.
My wife, I'm gonna tell you a secret of my wife's. She'll watch it 1 or 2 more times. She literally, like, even with my editor Chris, who is a professional and he knows how to edit, I'm like, did you watch the whole video before you sent it to me? And sometimes like, oh, no, I didn't. It's like, you gotta watch the video. Even on 2x, you just gotta watch it. You know what happens when you watch that whole video over? You're like, why did I leave that in? That's like completely boring, right? Or like I totally like flubbed that line. I'm like, take that out. It's a simple thing you can do that could potentially 10x your video. This literally happened yesterday. I had a video where I went to a Filipino grocery store with my toddler. Okay, one of my 5 girls. She's like turning 4 years old. Okay. And literally, like, I watched the whole video. It's great. He's edited so many times. And because he's here, we can look at the editing like software. I was like, you know what? After watching the whole thing, I actually think like this could be like the beginning. And so normally I don't do like little teasers or whatever, but I was like, this is so good. This is worth making it a teaser. So let's just do it. And then let's like chop up the little thing. That was after watching it 2 times. If I didn't watch it and I just let him send it, instead of it being a 1 out of 10 video, and if you guys use YouTube Studio, you know what 1 out of 10 means, right? That's the score that they give you. That could have been a 4 out of 10. So just watching it over and taking that extra step to edit a little bit more makes the biggest difference. And it takes maybe 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. My wife, who edits every single day, she watches the video over again. I think the core part of this is this. A lot of people, for whatever reason, they don't like looking at themselves. They cringe for whatever reason. They're like, maybe because they're fearful of what people think and they're nitpicking all those things. You got to get over that. You have to watch the videos. And in fact, I coach people in this studio all the time. And literally after we're done recording, I was like, okay, sit there. They're like, what do you mean? Well, I thought we were done. I was going to leave. It's like, no, we have to watch the whole video. They're like, oh, I don't want to watch it. I hate watching it. I was like, well, a million other people are going to watch you, so you might as well watch yourself first.
Right? Yeah, one more isn't going to hurt. Yeah, right.
And I know there's creators that upload to YouTube and still don't watch themselves. But if you are able to get over whatever things are going on in your mind, right, and you've got to do whatever it takes to address that, and watch yourself when in the editing software and watch yourself on YouTube. And yes, sometimes people are going to leave comments, and sometimes you're going to see things that make you cringe, and you're going to improve. You know, I'll tell you a example that I can relate to. Public speaking. I've had public speaking moments that were crash and burn, complete failures. The best thing I could do is watch and be like, don't want to do that again. And guess what happens? Number one, you know what not to do. But two, you know what to do to avoid that. And then three, you know how to prepare. So that going back to editing, if you do that, the next time you create an idea and you record a video and you edit, all that is going to start stacking up to the point where now, Nick, if someone tells me a topic and they tell me a title and they just say, oh, we're going to record, I can do it like that because what used to take me 5 hours is taking me 5 minutes. The most impressive thing I saw today is the intro you gave. You literally just like, hey, we got to go live in like 30 seconds. And there was no hesitation. I was like, whoa, that was like a professional. You know how many people would love to be able to do that? They can't do that. But the secret is this. And you please reply back to them. Correct me if I'm wrong. You've done it thousands of times, maybe hundreds more that people don't even see because it never gets onto the final cut. So would that,
there's that plus, you know, content on other channels and, you know, things like that. Like, yeah, I make a ton of content, tons of live streams, you know, of that. Plus I have a teleprompter right here that helps me with intros. That's also, you know, kind of like a, you know, a helpful thing, you know,
you didn't always have a teleprompter, you know?
No, I just got it actually. Yeah, I just got it. I'm still trying to learn how to use it. I'm doing the reps on this, but I only use it for intros though, just so that I can make sure that I get through all those little details, you know, when I'm bringing somebody on.
So there you go. You know, I just gave you a huge tip for editing, which is literally just watch your edit over again. But I think really the theme is you have to watch yourself over after you create a video, and you have to do that over and over and over and over. The saddest part of seeing a success story is not seeing the sucky part of the story, because you think that's how you have to show up. Nobody shows up like that. Right. Everybody, you know, Sean Cannell is a great example of this. He's a co-author of this, the book. I can only speak to this because I saw him in this season, right? But guess what? Even when I met him, he had a whole decade of sucky experiences. And Nick, I know you and I have talked about your era of sucky experiences. It's actually good for us to understand that and be aware of it, because guess what? It makes it easier for us to go through that sucky experience and have videos that suck, so we can get to the videos that have success, that are amazing. And so I say that for the beginners, because guess what? Sometimes I still feel like a beginner, but I don't look at that as a bad thing. Like some people are like, oh, you have self-esteem issues. No, it's like, it makes me show up and be prepared. Because if I go in that ring, in that tournament with another black belt who's been practicing, that never skipped, you know, class and went to other tournaments, I'm going to get my butt whooped. So always show up and be ready. What I'm saying right now, fight.
So Benji, you know, during the stream so far, like you've shared tons of, you know, really great and helpful information for content creators. Really quick, I would like to take a moment to just remind everybody that Benji also has a program called Vlogging Academy. I've got the URL to it, the web address of it right here on the screen right now. But it's called Vlogging Academy, where he helps. Actually, I'll let you like could you let people know exactly what Vlogging Academy is?
Well, this is how I kind of want to land, and then of course talk about that. I told you I've been on YouTube for 16 years now, and I've never felt more inspired, more motivated, more pumped. And I can tell you this and also show you this. I've uploaded 100 vlogs in the last 100 days. And another thing I can tell you is I've made more money than I've ever made on my channel. I've gotten more views. And guess what? I went from losing subscribers to gaining subscribers again. But my story is not unique. Vlogging is happening. People like secretly started vlogs, long form vlogs, 20-minute vlogs, 30-minute vlogs, 60-minute vlogs that sometimes get 1 million views. And it's easier. This is in the season of shorts and TikTok and all that kind of stuff. And that isn't by accident. People want more. They want more videos. They want longer videos. They just love YouTube. Shorts, I think what the benefit of shorts for longer videos is it drove a lot of people to the platform. And so when somebody's interested in something and they want more, they were already going to YouTube, but now they're just on YouTube and they're staying and they're watching more stuff. And so the reason I bring that up is the bar was getting higher and higher and higher thanks to people like Nick, right, who is coaching amazing creators, channels are becoming successful, but then it got so complex and difficult. And I know this wasn't your intention, Nick, because I was doing the same thing, but you and I both can relate to this. We actually want to bring it way down for those people that are just standing out. They didn't have that season of suck, and it's starting right now. And guess what? You can actually have success more faster if you're aware of that. And just know on the other side, there's a bright light. There's more opportunity because the demand for video, the demand for your skills, the demand even from brands to sponsor your content is just growing and growing and growing. And this is why I created Vlogging Academy, which, by the way, if you're interested, just click the link below. But literally, I'm like sharing this message anywhere I can right now. I'm like talking about it on my own socials. I'm going to other people's shows because I believe this window will be small, though, because when people figure out vlogging is back and they're doing the new vlogging, because even all the vloggers I'm talking about that are like coming out of the woodwork that are new, I learned this from them. They have a theme. They have a focus. They're not just vlogging their whole day. It might seem like it, but they're vlogging things I care about. Even if it's a 60-minute video, it's a 60-minute video about working out. Sam Sulek, right? It's not.
I was just getting ready to mention him. Yeah, I was just getting ready to mention him and talk about how he's a great example of how people are needing or craving content that is just more like, hey, let's just give some like real stuff here, because everything is just, super produced. I mean, I'm guilty too, right? I mean, if you look at the cameras and everything, both of us, right? Like we're sitting here in pro gear, but like, when it comes to, YouTube, everything is just super produced, super flashy and things like that. And I think there's a large segment of the population that's like, man, I'm exhausted. Right. I'm exhausted when I watch these videos. Can I just get something where I just watch somebody do something? Right. So yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity when it comes to vlogging and also just creating amateur style content. Right. It's like, hey, this might not be the best video from a technical standpoint, but man, if you come into this, you're going to connect. Right. Yeah. Because I'm being real. You're, here watching this video and we are, not having to distract you with a bunch of flashy stuff. We're just here connecting. Right.
So I think last thing I'll say, and this is a huge kudos to you, Nick. And also hopefully this inspires a lot of people. Some of my favorite moments with you, Nick, is when we hung out in person, when we're literally just chatting in the hallway, or maybe like there's a break between the speakers or whatever. And I know that you have viewers that when they meet you, they just love you, right? They want to take a selfie. They want to tell you how much you changed your life. And this is the beautiful thing about vlogs. It lets you create those moments for your audience. And so if you've got a skill, you're an expert at something, you've been a professional in your industry for a very long time, or you just have a hobby that you want to share with the world, guess what? There's an audience out there that wants it. And even someone like you, Nick, those moments where we're just talking, how many times have you and I just chatted, and it's probably the most valuable part of that event. If you vlog that, everyone would want to watch that. And that's not scripted at all. That's like off the cuff, right? And I remember the first time I met you, man, we hit it off. And not because we're like best friends forever taking selfies. It's just we genuinely had a passion that was the same. And so that is the beauty of YouTube. It's bringing two people together that have the same interests. And if you put out the content and it's focused and it's valuable, even if it's 60 minutes, people will hang out for 60 minutes. And the beautiful thing about YouTube is the longer your videos are, the longer you keep them on, the more you get rewarded, not only because they suggest you again when you put out the same type of content or better, but you make AdSense. This is why like AdSense is this like secret weapon that over time can be a saving grace through like hard seasons, saving grace for like when you think like, oh, I'm gonna have to get a job again, and then bam, you have a viral video, and then the AdSense blows up. And so don't discount AdSense. It's the one thing that made YouTube so attractive to so many creators, especially on other platforms who have failed at it. And so, just
and they might even shut down TikTok. I don't know if you saw the news.
I did. Yeah.
So they might even shut down TikTok. So we'll see how that stuff goes. But
YouTube will benefit
for that influx on YouTube. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But Benji, really quick, if you could just give us a really quick overview of the Vlogging Academy, just, for anybody that happens to be interested in that, just so they can kind of get an idea of what it is that the Vlogging Academy is.
For sure. You know, we talked about the old way of vlogging where you needed a huge audience, you vlog your whole day, you have to make your day interesting. It's a thing that made other content creators like, oh, that's not sustainable. And then it made people like cringe against it. That was the old way. And it's a mistake to try to replicate that now, especially if you have no audience. The new way of vlogging, even if you have 0 subscribers, can gain you traction because you're still utilizing principles and philosophies like what Nick teaches, but it's focused. And so that's what I'm teaching at the link below at Vlogging Academy that I learned from vlogging from 100 days. And I learned over the course of the last decade that works today, even with a channel with 0 subscribers. I'm going to teach you my whole method, my whole workflow. I also talk about YouTube. I talk about like the things when you think about YouTube. So even if you just want to learn more about YouTube, it's worth taking because the whole Vlogging Academy is just telling you like how to create content in a way to get views and then understanding YouTube so yet you know what you're creating is going to be worth other people's time inevitably, so YouTube suggests it so that you get views and you can get a start and not just like have crickets, you know, when you upload an hour-long vlog about your random day.
And, you know, one thing that I want to mention as well, and, you know, the people that are in my community, you know, they've heard this story, you know, a bunch, but just in case, you know, there's somebody here that hasn't heard it. So for me, the thing that changed the game for me when it came to YouTube, and this was, you know, like almost 10 years ago now, but the thing that changed the game for me on YouTube was I went for 5 months on my YouTube channel and I gained 150 subscribers over the course of that 5 months. The content that I was putting up was really random. I didn't have any clear focus. I wasn't, you know, I was kind of like, okay, this is kind of what I'm doing, but, you know, I didn't really understand YouTube. But then I got the opportunity to work with somebody that actually understood what worked, how to do this whole thing. They were able to instill in me like, hey, these are things you got to be thinking about. These are things you got to look at. These are things you have to make sure that you are considering when you're publishing your videos. This is how you actually figure out what videos to make, things like that. And that experience of just, you know, having that feedback and working with somebody that knew what they were doing was the thing for me that basically, you know, lit my fire, so to speak, and, you know, made everything kind of align for me. And then from there, you know, the rest is history. So the reason I'm saying that is because when it comes to, you know, the Vlogging Academy, if you're a vlogger and being able to lean on Benji's experience of being a content creator for what, 16 years, like, you know, massively for 13. So, you know, being able to lean on that experience is massive, and experienced people can really cut down your learning curve. Because one of the things you always hear me talking about is, you know, if you're having trouble getting going, just understand that you're just in that part of the learning curve, right? And you just have to, you know, go through that process. But when you work with people that already know how to do the thing that you're trying to do, it can massively reduce the amount of time it's going to take you in order to achieve the goals that you're trying to accomplish. So if you are a vlogger, definitely head over to vloggingacademy.com and check that out. Of course, I've got a link down in the description as well. That is an affiliate link. If you want to click on that, that's fine. If not, just go to vloggingacademy.com.
Definitely click on the affiliate link. Click on the affiliate link, guys.
But when it comes to Benji, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for, you know, sharing the tips that you have. As always, you know, you're welcome here anytime. But I appreciate you coming on and sharing your expertise with, you know, with the people that are here. And yeah, thanks.
Thank you, and I appreciate you, brother.
And everybody that's here, have a awesome rest of your week. Make sure you hit the like button on the way out. And if you have a vlogger friend that you think would get value out of this, make sure that you share this with them as well, so they can listen to it in the background, or maybe they can watch it, you know, once you send them the link or whatever. But make sure you share this with them as well. So thank you so much for hanging out. Hope that you got value out of the stream, and we will see you next time.